But we just want to thank you guys for coming out on behalf of Upper Darby School District, our school administration, our district administration, our superintendent, Dr. McGarry, and our school board of directors. We just want to thank you guys for coming out to engage with us in our discussion around this new facilities project, the Cardington Elementary School. I'd like to bring to the mic at this time Frank Salerno, who's our Director of Elementary Education, to kind of get us started on our project. Thank you. I just want to say that, let me just add this, that we've had 3 meetings prior to this meeting. They've been virtual, considering our COVID restrictions. And we are having this meeting in response to the community's asking that we have this in-person meeting. 4 o'clock seemed to be the consensus that was given to us from those participants in those previous meetings. So this is not the end of our meeting. These are community conversations, and they will continue over a period of time. You will have other opportunities to engage with us in person, and we will have flexible times based upon community feedback. Thank you, Frank.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's a very hot afternoon, but we appreciate you being here. I see a lot of very familiar faces as we have been making our way around the neighborhood. In addition to the 4, I think we've already had 4 virtual meetings. This is our 5th and our first in-person meeting. So it's great to see so many familiar faces. I want to once again thank Mayor Keffer and the members of Township Council, many of which are here. Thank you for allowing us to use the site. Thank you for allowing us to tap into the electrical system and have this in-person meeting. And I want to thank again Dr. McGarry, the superintendent of schools, is here. We have both of our assistant superintendents. Mr. Ed Marshallek is right here, and Dr. John Council right here. We have a number of people from the school district here. We have our police chief, Mr. Bernhardt, here as well. Thank you for joining us. We have some principals, and specifically I want to mention Miss Kamisha Simpson from Senko Elementary School. Miss Simpson, raise your hand. I'm sure you're thrilled that I'm singling you out. And we have some other administrators making their way over right now. So we have a good representation here from the township, from the school district, and we're really appreciative of our neighbors that are here as well. In addition to me, you're going to be hearing from our architects. Mr. Ryan Orr is here from KCBA Architects, and Mr. Mike Kelly is going to be joining us in just a few seconds as well. As they come and get set up, what you are going to see is they have some just some beautiful renditions of the proposed site here at Cardington. We're going to have them up for you to see, to take a look at. And the way that we're going to do the questions and answers is we have a small enough group, and we have representation again from the school district. We have representation from the architectural firm that we are working with. We're going to have you just kind of mingle at the end of our short presentation. Feel free to approach us, ask us questions about the phasing of the project. Anything that we do not have a chance to review in person with you this afternoon, please approach us, come up, ask questions, make comments, make suggestions. I have a number of cards if you feel more comfortable calling me directly or emailing after the fact. And let's just keep the conversations going. That's what this is about. We are not putting shovels in the ground. We are not officially, we have not made any decisions yet. This is a part of the process before we make any decisions. We are looking for input from the community. That's what these conversations are about. We appreciate so many of you who have joined us up to this point virtually. We've had a lot of great comments and questions that have been posed, and as a result, we have adjusted our presentation a bit to address some of those questions and concerns. I want to start off with one of the most commonly asked questions is, where is the school going to go? Where is the parking going to go? What about traffic? Why are you doing this? Why here? So a lot of really good questions, excellent questions. Let's start with the why for the project, first and foremost. I was standing over here, I got here a little bit early. It was about 3:30 or so. And I was talking to a member of the community who was standing right here at the corner of Heather and Walnut, and the member of the community was waiting for the bus to drop his child off. His child, he is a 2nd grader attending Senko Elementary School. He has another student, child, 7th grader attending Beverly Hills Middle School. and he was standing here, and we were having a conversation about what time the bus drops his daughter off. And the bus, sure enough, pulled up about 20 of 4 right here. And the reason I bring that up, and as his second grade daughter made her way off the bus and walked directly across the street to their house, right across from the field, is because his daughter, his second grade daughter that attends Walter Senko, is on that bus an hour every single day. 30 minutes to school, 30 minutes home, okay? That's a school that has been in the district that we have been leasing from St. George's for the better part of since 2005, I believe, right, Ms. Simpson? Since 2005. So the conversation we had was, imagine if your daughter did not have to be on that school bus, was home about 30 to 40 minutes sooner, because she would just be able to walk across the street to get home, or walk across the street to come to school. So the number one reason we are doing this is because we have long-standing enrollment and capacity issues in Upper Darby School District. We have solved those issues temporarily since 2005, in this particular case, by leasing buildings that we do not own. By leasing St. George's, by leasing St. Charles for Charles Kelly Elementary School. And we are thinking about, and we have been for some time now, solving these issues permanently. Right here where we are standing, Cardington Elementary School was in this exact site until 1982, when it was demolished. 1982. And it was demolished because the enrollment of the school and the area here grew so much that the school could no longer accommodate them. And that's what was the springboard for the construction of Stoner Hills and Bywood Elementary schools. Now both of those schools are overcrowded. We have Miss DeVito here. She's the principal, proud principal of Highland Park Elementary School. That school is overcrowded. We have Miss Meehan in the back. She's the principal of Bywood Elementary School. Significant enrollment concerns there. This school would be one of a number of steps to help solve our enrollment and capacity issues. So why this site? Why not 69th Street Field? Right? Why not somewhere else? Well, first and foremost, thank you, Mr. Lambert, jack of all trades. Thank you, Dr. McGarry. 69th Street doesn't. Oh, you know what, Miss Taylor? I'm sorry. I did forget. I intended on doing this. And this is not just because Miss Taylor is yelling over me right now. Just as a general rule, though, if we can have dialogue about this the same way that we have virtually. And while I cannot hit a mute button on the Zoom right now, I do want to continue the dialogue. 69th Street is not a property that we own. We have our architects here, like I said. We're not the professionals in this area in terms of construction. We could build a school on stilts on 69th Street because it is a flood zone. That's just not architecturally a good idea, and that's why we're looking at this site right here in the community as the most ideal location. The phasing of the project. Some people are asking about the dates, when we are starting, the phasing of the project, and the green space here. What about the green space? We are going to preserve as much of the green space as we possibly can. Obviously, we are going to have on-site parking. We are going to have the school itself, and towards the back of the property here, we are going to have newly redone green space for the community and the school to use. I'm going to ask Mr. Orr from KCBA, or Mr. Kelly, to pop up here for a second and join me, and talk to you a little bit more about the traffic, why we are looking to potentially put the parking on the site that we are using right now, the school behind that, and then the green space to the rear of the property here, as you can see. And then we're going to transition to the site itself, traffic study, and some testing that needs to be done before anything happens. Mr. Orr.
Thank you, Mr. Salerno. As Mr. Salerno said, my name is Ryan Orr. I'm here with Michael Kelly behind me, also from KCBA Architects. Some of the points that Mr. Salerno was talking about are exactly right. Traffic. Ahead of this project, there will be a traffic study completed. And in the previous studies, in the previous meetings that we'd held, we had showed a couple of different variations of how this site could lay out, with parking, school, open space as one option, parking to the back, school in the middle, open space into the front, and a few other variations as well. As Mr. Salerno was discussing, traffic is very important to this project, very important to this community. Make sure that we're handling it in a safe and proper manner. So one of the options is to keep traffic on the front half of the site. What that does is it would keep a lot of the traffic on Main Street here, Walnut, and out of the major parts of the neighborhood. If we were to put parking on the rear half of the site or the middle of the site, that would bring more cars and buses to the middle of the park site here. So these are some of the considerations that we're thinking through as we are just starting thinking about these concepts, and that's why we're here to present these ideas and concepts to you all here today. Another important piece is testing. So one thing that we're going to have to do before any project would start here is test environmental testing. We'd have to do soil testing, so that involves coming out with a big drill bore and drilling down to see exactly what's underneath the earth here, see where a building could go, where parking could go, and then leaving the remainder of the site as open space. And then the third piece there certainly is planning for the open space, so the remainder. So we're in a beautiful athletic field right now, standing here. For the remainder of the open space, there would be an opportunity to have small playing fields for under 8 size soccer fields. But there'd also be a great opportunity to have a large playground for the community to use, as well as other amenities that are potentially available, whether it's basketball courts or a reading grove, areas to sit, areas with shade to help oversee the open space there. So those are a few of the amenities that would be available in the open space. Also going along with the site pieces, so you have the open space piece, you would have the building piece, the parking piece. The parking piece would adequately hold enough spaces for staff and visitors. So therefore, those people would not be looking to park on the streets. They'd be parking on the site, reducing the amount of or eliminating the on-street parking needed for the school. Behind me, you can see on the large board to the right, that's a concept for the open space that I was speaking about. So you can see on the left-hand side is a small youth-sized soccer field. In the middle, right now, we're showing 2 other site amenities, like I described, basketball courts, or as we describe it, a reading grove, just an area with benches and shade and nice amenities to use during a nice hot summer day. And then lastly, all the way to the right there, a very large playground. Could be 2-stage, could be a tot lot for younger kids and students, and then a older playground area for older students. On the boards as well, there are 2 illustrations, 2 renderings of what that open space would look like from the street view. So you can see right now the view that's up there is the open field concept. So that's from the northwest corner of the site looking to the southeast. That would be that view. And keep in mind, in the background is just the massing of what the school building would look like. It's not a design, it's just an initial massing of how big that school would be. So those are the 2 site pieces. The building piece, the school building. Right now we would be looking at the academic piece to be 3 stories tall. It would include gymnasium, cafeteria, all the pieces that a school would need to function and serve this community and the students that would be walking to this school and using this school every day. Yes. So the question was regarding the traffic study. So we did talk about that earlier. To elaborate on that, the traffic study would take place over a period of days where traffic counts would take place. Then using that data, it would go back to the engineer conducting the traffic study, and they would analyze how much traffic is occurring right now without anything happening, how much traffic is happening if the site were to be developed as a school, and what that traffic would look like. And then lastly, what if this were to become housing? What's the worst case scenario that could happen for this site? So say it all became housing. They analyze the traffic for that piece, and then comparatively look at how to organize the site using those traffics, what improvements have to happen in the surrounding area in order to accommodate those traffic pieces. So, yes, you're correct. The idea is that you'd be designing for the worst case scenario. So that would be a school day, right? That would be a school day would be the worst case scenario. But also, this school would primarily be a walking school. There might be a few buses. So we have 69th Street to the west. We have a few other areas to the north that those major roads might be deemed hazardous routes. So the school district would be required to provide busing to areas across those hazardous routes, but this entire school's catchment area, or where the students are coming from, are all within walking distance. So there'll be very minimal buses. And to Mr. Salerno's point earlier, all those buses that are busing children to Senkow now wouldn't be on the streets because they would all be primarily walking to this elementary school. Are you speaking about construction? So that's a good question. So right now, best case scenario would be the school project would be designed through the winter of 2022, and then construction wouldn't begin until the spring of 2023. Then it would be a 2-year process to complete the school. So from 2023 to 2025 would be the construction process. And another piece that was presented in one of the most recent community meetings was we're looking at opportunities to provide portions of the site back to the community ahead of the project being completed. So if we take, we switched it. If we take that open space plan that we had previously talked about, a portion of that, say the playground area, so about a quarter of that open space would become available after 1 year. So for 1 year, we would need to utilize the entire site for construction. Then after that first year, for about 6 months, the playground would be completed for use by the community. Then that fall, we could seed the open field area, and then that spring, ahead of the school being completed, the community could use that whole open space ahead of the entire project being complete.
So there are a lot of great questions, and we have enough people here from the school district and from the architects to be able to answer your questions after we're done with giving you the information that we want to give you. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Dan McGarry, the superintendent of schools. We are going to conclude our presentation, and then our architects are going to be over here by these designs, by these pictures, and the school district representatives will be over here. We want you to please come and mingle with us, ask us questions. We have plenty of cards for you to contact us directly as well if your questions aren't answered today. Dr. McGarry?
We're one of the few communities so far that every time we try to build a school or make an improvement in our facilities, we end up in court. We're fighting over improving our schools for our kids. This is a district-owned property. It was a school at one time. This community inherited overcrowded population and schools that are at capacity. So our solution today is to come to you to talk to you about how we're trying to make the entire community better. That's our number one focus. We could talk about some of the barriers, some of the concerns. There's always going to be concerns in Upper Darby Township because it's been built out. Traffic will always be a concern. Capacity is going to be a concern. They should not be barriers to making improvements to a community for the children who go to our schools. Education should be the number one priority, and these schools should be the points of pride in this community. We're not going to be here today for the next 45 minutes haggling over traffic, because we'll do a traffic study. We'll talk about that. Well, I've heard things about asbestos in the dirt and the ground over the meetings that we've had. We'll do environmental studies, and we'll have to publish those environmental studies.
What about the construction phase?
Ms. Taylor, I'm going to finish. We have a process. We have a No, Ms. Taylor, you've had many of opportunities.
Okay, and I'm going to speak
So
maybe again
we're going to
today.
continue to go through our process. We'll speak publicly. We are required as a school district to hold one meeting,
One meeting.
an
Okay,
Act
so
34
what?
hearing. That's
So
all
what?
we're required to do.
So what?
Instead, we've held 5 already. We'll continue to hold meetings with the public.
That's because y'all
And
don't
we're
end
not
up
going to
in
give
court.
up as a school
Y'all don't
district
end up in
putting a
court.
school
That's
on
why
this
you're
property.
here.
And we look forward to hearing the positive comments and questions with you today as we move forward on a much-needed school facility in Upper Darby School District. So I think we should begin just quickly reviewing the projects. There's a Q&A process that will gladly answer those questions as we go through it, but we're not going to be here to have grandstanding and casting disparaging remarks
We live
toward
here.
trying to put a school on
We
this
live
property.
here.
Thank you.
We live here. Nobody grandstanding. You don't live here. And I can
Okay,
guarantee you
thank you, everybody. What I want to say real quick is just to kind of like lay out the rules of engagement so that we're,
I didn't curse. Hey, that's a grown woman. Talk to her.
Excuse me?
Okay. All right.
okay, can we have, can we have a dignified interaction? This is what we're going to be here for, a dignified interaction. Ms. Taylor, can we please have a dignified interaction? So can I explain to you what the process is? So what we're going to do is do a presentation for those persons who have not had the privilege of hearing the facts when it comes to the ideas that we have around this site. As usual, people will have an opportunity to respond through public comment, but we were going to do that in an orderly, dignified, and respectful way. There will be no shouting and screaming, and definitely no using of profanity because there are children here. So what we're going to do is follow that process. As we're going through the presentation, I implore you guys to listen to what we have to say because that's how you become educated about what's going on. And then you can ask questions that relate to what you have not heard. So we don't want to interrupt anybody else's freeness to hear this information because I feel like your freeness is being interrupted to hear this uninterrupted. So we're going to have the architect and Frank Salerno and our superintendent come up and hopefully you can hear it without interruption. And then you will have an opportunity to ask questions based on intellectual interchange. Thank you.
Whatever. Intellectual. How about be honest with them?
So I want to thank everyone once again for coming this afternoon. I know that there are probably questions that you have that we haven't addressed as a part of the presentation. I want to let you know that we are all available whenever you'd like to have a conversation on the phone, in person, via email. We are, again, just having conversations at this point. And we will continue to talk to the same people we have been talking to or anyone else who we have not heard from. We are hanging around to answer questions. Please come and approach us. Yes, sir.
Just give a basic rundown of how many students.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we were trying to do. We'll do it now.
Yes, good question. So we tried touching on this, but I think that we were diverted a bit from our plan. The question was about the size of the school, where from the township we're going to be drawing from as a school. It's a 1st through 5th grade school. So we are looking at an approximate enrollment of about 500 students. We are looking at only pulling from this immediate neighborhood. So it's going to be an all-walking school. The only exception to that would be maybe across Westchester Pike, if there's a hazardous route, maybe we would have a bus. But all of the families, the students that would attend this school, would be within the mile radius that would qualify to walk to school. So in terms of bringing traffic onto the site, we'll obviously have adequate parking for the staff, for anyone working at the school, but we are not going to have any busing or anything above and beyond what's already here, actually. It will likely be less because of the number of buses that are coming from Glen Olden day to day. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming out this afternoon. We're going to get down off of the stage and out from in front of the microphone. Please feel free to mingle with us and ask questions. Our architects are here. Take a look at the visual representations. And thank you again. Have a good afternoon.
You guys have any questions? One more thing, if you have any questions, you can go on our website under capital projects and you will see this proposal under there under Cardington Elementary School. You'll see all of this information there. I'm going to make sure any new schematics are uploaded there. You'll also see a way to contact Mr. Salerno if you have any questions, because again, We are available for anything that you may need to know. You are welcome.
And I do want to say there have been a few people that have asked me the same question over and over again about the green space, right? And I want to be clear that we are not taking the entire site for school and parking. There is going to be green space. You can see in these graphics that our architects are proudly displaying here. While these are just renditions or artists' illustrations of the building, you can see that one of our primary objectives is making sure that there is adequate green space. I've seen the field in use on the weekends, in the afternoon, like a day like today, and we know how important this space is to the community and how little green space there is. So one of our main goals is making sure that we are preserving as much of that as possible, and we're looking for your input in terms of what should be here and what sort of additions we should add. Thank you.